afternoon and welcome back to Laurel Park. Thank you for joining us on the Saturday morning on Today at the Races. I'm Gabby Gaudette, joined by Keith Fustel, and well, it's all coming to fruition, and I think everybody's more confused than ever going into this year's Kentucky Derby. But Keith, of course, we do get to the final Derby preps today. Of course, the Arkansas Derby and 100 points to the winner, and then the Lexington only 10 points to the winner. But it's been a head scratcher leading up to today.
I've never been so confused. Looking at the lead-ins to the Kentucky Derby, usually I have a pretty firm opinion on a couple horses right now. I have zero.
I know.
I mean, there's nothing that really I'm like anxious to go ahead and pound. Maybe later, a couple weeks out, I'll dig a little bit deeper and find something and watch some more video. But as of right now, no. And with the Arkansas Derby today, I guess the biggest question is Classic Empire going to show up?
Exactly. And if he shows up the way that he did on the big stage and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, well, then everybody else better have their running shoes on. But we all know, following him throughout the media, since his performance in the Holy Bull, he came out of the Holy Bull with a foot abscess, then he refused to train, then he went to Ocala, started training, and now shipping into Oaklawn. And it seems like everything's good with him going into the race. He looks like he's really turned things around.
Right.
However, you just don't know exactly what he's going to do in the afternoon, kind of unpredictable. But looking at the Arkansas Derby, I thought this race was, with the exception of Classic Empire and which horse we see today, other than Classic Empire, I thought it was kind of a wide open affair.
Yeah, looking at it, Classic Empire I do think will be your favorite. Going to be a close call between him and Malagasy. Malagasy was, I thought ran real well in that stretch out off of the two sprint wins. 3 for 3 lifetime, was a little bit snaking around through the last 16th of a mile. What's his distance limitation? But I thought he held quite strongly after chasing some pretty quick fractions, and he was put to a drive, pretty much leaving the far turn. So that was a good effort. Rockin' Rudy from the rail is going to make sure there's a quick pace. That horse is just going to zip to the front, no doubt.
That's why I think, we always see this being a similar, a reoccurring formula, whereas when it's a really, really hot pace, sometimes you want that horse that makes that last move into the pace. And I kind of like looking at Lee at a big price. He's definitely a closer, but I think it's going to be a very fast pace. You're talking about a horse who was on the lead dueling at 5.5 furlong sprints. On the turf?
Yeah. They take the blinkers off. Maybe they want to kind of harness the speed a little bit. I don't know. Looking at Lee, a deeper closer, and I like another bomb shot. The 3 Silver Dust, kind of do my 2-minute drill. The blinkers going. This horse did have quite a tough trip in the Rebel when he kind of hopped at the break, was pinched a little bit, and then he made a big move into a quick pace and then had to steady, made another move into the stretch. If this horse can relax a little bit, stay clear of trouble through the opening, maybe half of a mile, I think he might make a nice sustainable run today in his third start back off of a layoff.
Well, we shall see. And once again, that race does go up at 6:18 Central Time. That is 7:18 Eastern Time. You can catch that and more here at Laurel Park. You can watch and wager on it on track. So really looking forward to that, the final Derby prep this afternoon. But we've got a fantastic day on tap today. We wanted to show you a couple of things that are going on this weekend, too. First and foremost, well, we're open on Easter Sunday, and we have a fantastic card. So make sure you come out here. It's a 1:10 p.m. first post, so live racing Easter Sunday. It's going to be a fun day here. Of course, we have the return of Ben's Cat. That is in a very competitive turf sprint race, but some really nice allowance races, too. Beyond that, we see Fellowship actually coming back since the Grade 1 Preakness. That seems to be a pretty salty allowance field, so a lot going on Sunday.
Good card. Anxious to see how Ben's Cat returns. I like Triple Burner in that race. Talked about it yesterday. Yeah, the Easter basket. I already broke into the candy a couple of days ago. The kids are 14 and 17. We still throw it out there because my wife and I, we love the chocolate. So,
are you one of those dads that you give them a egg, you take 2?
Right. They might not have enough left by tomorrow, but
I would do the same thing.
We are in full force attacking the candy at the Fustel household.
Well, looking ahead to the future too, wanted to talk about the Triple Crown Day. So come on out in the Silks Room at Laurel. It's $15 for one day, $35 for all 3 days. So you can, again, just participate in all 3 legs of that Triple Crown series with a room or spot for you in the Silks Room. But Moving along to the Preakness, of course, wanted to remind everybody, don't forget about that second jewel of the Triple Crown. You can purchase your tickets today. Do go to Preakness.com for more information. And last but certainly not least, it is Winnin' You're In Day a week from today. That is Saturday, April 22nd. And again, looking at, actually, we just sent out a press release today. The winner of the Federico Tessio is a Winnin' You're In for the Preakness. The winner of the Weber City Miss is a Winnin' You're In for the Black Eyed Susan. We've got a bevy of stakes races next weekend, too, and 58 horses nominated for both the Weber City Miss and the Tessio. So really looking forward to that, but it's also a big day for the fans. You can spin the prize wheel for your chance to win tickets to the Preakness or Black Eyed Susan, so something to look forward to. Just looking at the nominations, Jenda's Agenda for Larry Jones is nominated for the Weber City Miss. I believe she's undefeated. We also have Tecalita for Michael Matz, who won down in South Florida, and Twisted Tom, who won locally here for Chad Brown. I think he's nominated for the Tessio.
Twisted Tom, a real good effort, got off the kind of the deader inside and a big surge to just get up in Nippo Dionysus, who ran lights out, as did Trombetta's horse in there. Question mark, the horse yesterday, Honor the Fleet.
Yeah.
I think we can't really sleep on him right now. He's
Louis
2 for 3 lifetime, 2 in a row on the stretch out, and just really running strong through the stretch. Talking to guys in the press box, one thing I've always look for horses, especially at the mile distance. I know we have a longer run down to the wire, but horses can do that sub 20, 24 and 1 final quarters. This horse is doing it. Reminded me of the female version of Stellar Wind back in the day.
Yes.
And we saw what she went on to do. This horse is a really nice horse. I'm sure they've got some offers coming in for him.
For sure. That was a special horse and a big performance yesterday. I was a little bit dubious just considering a couple of the horses that came out of his maiden special weight, but he just kept on rolling. Looked like a lot left in the tank, so it looks like they have their hands on a nice runner. But speaking of Winnin' You're In Day, Rodney Jenkins, of course, he has 2 very nice turf horses who are nominated for that weekend. We'll see what Rodney Jenkins had to say about both Top of Mind and Flash Phelps.
Flash is doing real good. He actually came back around quicker than Top of Mind has, but he's fit and ready, and if everything goes right, we'll run him in the Henry Clark on the 22nd.
And he's 6, Top of Mind 5, and he was a real promising turf horse last year. Talk about how he's doing.
He's doing real good. I'd like to see him have a little more weight and flush on him, but he worked unbelievable Tuesday, I guess it was. He had a real good work. He worked 5/8 and 59 and galloped out in 12. So he's ready to go. He's a closer. You know, the race has to set up for him naturally going that flat mile, but I put him right there with Flash.
Wow.
Yep.
That was trainer Rodney Jenkins talking about both his horses, and Rodney was kind enough to bring these horses out to pose for the camera there. Stan Salter did go on the backstretch, and both of these horses just beautiful, beautiful horses. A funny thing about Top of Mind, and Rodney did mention that he might be a little bit slower along than Flash Phelps, but Top of Mind, you know, he transferred from the dirt to the turf, and he really started to have some impressive races in the kind of second half of the turf season. Flash Phelps, he's kind of that proven commodity.
Yeah, Flash Phelps, he really, if I'm not mistaken, was gelded and just went on a roll, and he's just a fan favorite. We talk about, you know, Dave Rodman's buddy for the old DJ Flash Phelps, and where the horse is named after. And Top of Mind, he transitioned over to the turf, and even a stronger run now where he would, you know, some of those races maybe fly a little bit. He really can bring it home that final eighth of a mile.
Oh, we're looking forward to that race. Obviously, the Henry S. Clark, and looking forward to all the other stakes races next Saturday, a week from today. But we wanted to go and mention some of our featured wagers today, and we start things off in today's opener. We have early money making the 1-2 favorite. 20-cent Rainbow 6, though, it does kick off later today, and I believe the 5th race today on this 10-race program. We've got a $8,200 carryover, and there, of course, we also have that super high five wagering that starts in the first race, and we do have that late pick 5. No carryover that, but industry low takeout there in the late pick 5. So it's kind of on the chilly side to my standards, right? I just came up from South Florida, but it's a beautiful afternoon, and we're probably going to get into the 70s today, though. It's a little overcast, but we are fast and firm on the turf, and boy, would what a difference a week makes. We saw the turf fractions much faster yesterday, and we also saw speed holding pretty well.
Speed was holding. You wanted to be fairly close, within a few lengths, turning for home on this turf course. We'll see if it maintains for him. I think it will right now. But, yeah, last week, half miles going sprinting, we're like 48, 49. How about 44 and change? Old Billy the Bull was back at it. Good to see him. So I think the horses appreciate the way this turf course is firmed up. They're going to like it.
I agree, and something to keep in mind when you're handicapping the turf card today. Now, we'll start things off with today's opener. It's a $5,000 non-winners of 3 lifetime claiming event, 6 furlongs onto the main track. And I did come up with an early pick 5 ticket, so I will walk you through that. Now, I came up with an early pick 5, and I did come up with a 20-cent Rainbow 6, Keith. I couldn't find singles in either one of them. Thought it was kind of difficult, so we'll get to your ticket momentarily, but $48 will do it for me, going 2 by 2 by 4 by 2 by 3. Hopefully we get through here, but interesting enough, we have the 4 aggressive driver, really, really early money in the wagering at 4 to 5. But looking at today's opener, I thought that probably the 3 Stone Crab was the horse to beat for Kieran McGee, who does cut back in distance.
Yeah, cuts back in distance. His face kind of the right kind. Cold Spice Mid-Ocean has come back to run well. That was it. What's this horse going to do? 3 tries at 6 furlongs is 0 for 3. Will there be enough speed up front? Maybe they backed off the training a little bit. This horse might be a little bit sharper with some freshening. But I think aggressive driver, the tactics are going to be aggressive up to the front. I don't see a ton of quality speed. Maybe some down from the inside from Legend Keeper. But last out really ran well. Honor Commitment made a charge inside of Honor Commitment at the 8th pole. Just faded ever so slightly the last 1/8 of a mile at the same distance. I think this horse is ramping up in the right direction for Raul Garrido. A couple wins for him. Good to see a smaller outfit, but like to see those guys win. But comes out of a triple key race, 2 races back. I think he's going to be right up towards the front and can last a long way in today's opening. He's certainly going to float up from that 4 to 5.
I could definitely see that. Now, wanted to go back and show this video spotlight replay of Stone Crab last time out. Now, this was on the 26th of February, and just wanted to show that we can see Cold Spice on the lead and Andy's Love finish in second there. This horse looks like he's about to, and I want to show this because he is cutting back in distance today. He's been going a mile and 70 for a long, long time. He looks like he makes this really nice middle move, and he's going to probably go past the entire field here, and then he just kind of tapers off a little bit. So watching some of his performances, going the mile, going 2 turns as well, Keith, I really think that he's going to like the cut back in distance. Now, Kieran McGee, he can do no wrong lately, and neither can Trevor McCarthy.
Kieran's just on a roll the last 30 days, hitting a clip, I think, above 40%.
It's crazy.
And a lot of times, as a chart caller and you go back and watch videos, sometimes you see things between the call, between the points of call you're going to see in your past performances. That was a perfect example right there. And Cold Spice, the horse that won that race, is a proven sprinter as well. He's won going 7/8 of a mile. So take note, watch those videos, and kind of see the little nuances, and you'll certainly, it'll help yourself at the windows. But I like aggressive driver just for the way Honor Commitment came back and ran well, jumping up in class in a 4 in life, running close to a 70 buyer. But yeah, Stone Crab, he's going to be charging at him, no doubt about it.
And you do bring on a good point. I think aggressive driver, his only option is to go. There's a lack of pace in here, so he could have the tactical advantage that will help him. Now, the 2 Big Brother Bubba, we'll show you a stat here on Anthony Ferrier. His horses cutting back from routes to sprints on the dirt, 17%, but a positive ROI, and finishing almost or just about half in the money, 42%. So I do like this horse cutting back in distance, but overall the lack of pace in here is a concern, as he showed speed going the mile last time out. Not necessarily the case when he goes 6 furlongs.
A little sharper off the claim. I expect him to be a little bit closer than he was in that 2-back race against aggressive driver here for Ferrier.
All right, we'll get to the second race on the card. 6 furlongs onto the main track, and this is a $5,000 conditional claimer for 3-year-olds and upward, which have not won a race since October 15 is the condition specifically. And we have 2 horses going at it once again here this afternoon. Now, 10's Wild, he hasn't been seen since the 4th of December, whereas Lunar Rock, he's had a couple of races in between. But we'll take you back to 10's Wild last race, and this was once again on the 4th of December. December. Now, this poor horse was wide the entire way. He broke from post 14 that day, whereas we saw Lunar Rock. He was actually the number 7 horse. I thought Lunar Rock perhaps made a little bit of an early move into that pace, and he just couldn't sustain his run coming down the stretch, whereas Tens Wild, he made a little, or he made his move going 7 furlongs, and I thought it was a good performance from him. You can see him kind of out in the center of the racetrack. Better post today, and I really like the distance for Tens Wild. We'll get into this race a little bit more, but there you can see the difference between the two horses and the trips that they had.
Yeah, it takes a little break off since December. You know, we saw through that period, Gabby. You were down in Florida, but I'm sure you kept up with the stress. The wide was good for an extended period of time, but this horse fits perfectly in this race and will make a nice run into it. No doubt about it. Trainer does well with this type of a layoff. I do think Lunar Rock showing that little edge and maybe tactability there, if that's a word. I think he kind of gets the jump on the on the closers. DNA approved scares me. But Lunar Rock, first time for Anthony Farrer. Trainer is very capable right now. He's 27% over the last 90 days with a positive ROI. I think this horse just sits a trip from just off of it.
But he hasn't won in so long.
I know, it's been forever. A lot of these horses.
And he's had his opportunity. But you make a good point. Yeah. It's the same case for a lot of horses in here. I mean, you see horses who might have had a tremendous amount of bad class, but just haven't gotten into it recently. Dustin E. for Kieran McGee figures to take a little bit of money. He hasn't been seen since October of 2015. Right. So it just might be the diamond in the rough, so to speak. I just liked Tens Wild because I like this distance for him. He's tried. You can see at Charlestown, he tried 6.5 furlongs. That's a 2-turn race, so you just can't. It's apples and oranges, really, to compare. He's never truly had that one-turn sprint race at 6 furlongs other than the 7/8 race, which I thought was impressive last time out. So that's where I gave him the slight edge in here. The Ford DNA approved. You thought you liked him a little bit on the cutback.
I do. I think you're going to get a square price on him, and he jumped up around a 58 buyer. That's going to be okay. He's going to have to improve maybe a little bit off of that. But you see he comes out of a key race. That was a Claudio horse that ran second, came back to win. And once again, talking about like your horse in the first race. Look at those internals, 23-3, 46-2, 11-3. Made a nice little move, wasn't able to quite sustain. But against this group, which might be a little bit lighter group, he certainly could make an impact.
All right, we'll turn the page to the third race. This is a maiden $16,000 event. We're going out to the Kelso, the rail set at 35 feet for this 5.5 furlong turf sprint. We have typical maiden race, right? When you're coming in the Mid-Atlantic, when you're coming out of the winter and horses are getting to the turf for the first time. It's a bit of a scramble here. We've got some very nice turf pedigrees, one of them being your top selection, the 3 Loves Legend.
Yeah, Loves Legend. My final shot maybe with Loves Legend. I've tried her a few times here, haven't been successful. I really liked her 2 races back on the Jam Job. She went out, cleared, couldn't get it done. But this is a fool to Spartianos, who was 2 for 8 sprinting on the turf. Big numbers. This, I think, is going to be the wake-up call. Not a ton of true speed. Maybe Love's Legend can go ahead and send, and you might still sneak away at a decent price today.
I like the pedigree, not for love, as you said, full to Spartianos. He was a 2-time turf winner. He was a really nice turf sprinter. I think he made almost $100,000 too, so he was right there consistently against good level of competition. Now, the 2 Linda Neen, I didn't know what to do, and ultimately I did land with her on top. She is by Twirling Candy, the mare. She was 0 for 2. This is her first foal, so there's not a lot to conjure from the bottom side of the pedigree. But the blinkers go on, and we do see this time of year when Gary Capuano gets to experiment with maybe dirt horses trying the turf for the first time, they do succeed. It's a good angle for him.
Oh, absolutely. And we've seen this owner. They kind of shake it up and move around with trainers, and they've had success with transferring. And horse's first time in the new trainer's barn. I think this horse is going to run well. Twirling Candies hit about 18% first time they hit the turf. This horse is going to be okay. The mare tried the turf twice. Just okay starts, but, promising to say the least. So I think Linda Nin is going to be real solid in here. I don't know if she's going to be right on the engine, but she should be within striking distance when they turn for home.
A horse that could be right on the engine was the 6, So Refreshing for Mike Trombetta. She showed a lot of speed out of town at Charlestown, even locally in Laurel back in early January. She is by Stace Thirsty, and actually a half to Razzle Dazzle, who was a 4-time winner going long on the turf. But she's speedy, so I'm thinking that she's going to show speed out of the gate, and obviously if she takes a liking to the turf, maybe that will carry her some way, as we saw speed holding relatively well yesterday. The 8 Rosie Ridge is the 9-5 morning line favorite. What do you make of her?
Yeah, just a kind of a jam job hoping. I was surprised a little bit of a quicker give up on the dirt. Hooked low weekend and didn't run terrible, only beating 10 lengths. A little fade through some quick internal fractions. Looked at the breeding. Flower Alley's only 10% first turf. I'm not in love with this horse. Yeah, at a short price. I mean, definitely is going to be right around that 2-1, 9-5 range. The 10 lucky to the max. I remember this mare. This was horse taking a long time to get to the race as a 5-year-old firster for Robbie Bales. But Lady of the Future, she was a really, really nice turf horse. Problem was she came from way back. What is she going to do first time out? Maybe check this one down and look for a little bit of late life in this sprint.
All right. I'm going to try to look at some of these contenders in the paddock to try to see if we can at least zero in on a couple. So the 4th race on the card, this is a maiden $10,000 event, 1-turn mile onto the main track. And we have the 5 Guillermo, 9-5 morning line favorite. Ran a fast enough race to win this race, but obviously the question always has to be posed, did that muddy sealed track, moisture in the main track last time out, did it enhance his performance? Can he duplicate it? Does he need to? I think he's one that you probably want to use in those multi-race bets, but I also thought he might be a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. And a drop right off the bat, an encouraging debut. It was kind of an odd ride. I mean, the kid was saving ground, settled off the pace, swung out, made a run, looked like he was going to be a stone-cold winner. But the favorite, to his credit, he was in a little bit of trouble at the 8th pole. Kicked away, found a seam and won by 5. And the rider kind of stood up late. I didn't understand what was going on with Guillermo's trip. Yeah, and he almost got nabbed for the show. A quick drop in class. Anything back to that number puts him there.
Yep.
But, the Carolina bred, we'll see. Once again, he's going to be a short price with Trevor. Hate to, kick him all the way out of the exotics, but I think you've got better price options in race 4.
And one of them is the 9 Colonel Argo towards the outside for trainer Hammy Smith. He's been a little bit even lately, especially at this distance on the main track, but Blinker's going to wake him up.
A little tricky. Blinkers on, blinkers off. What's she going to do? A horse held okay after some trouble.
That's
last
a typical
time out.
Hammy
I
move.
know.
Though.
He likes to play against. We saw that with Trombetta with the horse yesterday. Blinkers on, blinkers off. Yeah, and I think this horse poised a just subtle little drop, draws to the outside of this one turn, has a little bit of turn of foot. I think this horse can go a long way in here. Not a bad effort. 3 races back behind Roby's Boy when he showed good speed on a negative rail.
Okay, we could see. And, when we get some of these horses who are lightly raced, the intrigue is to go to those lightly raced horses, right, who are dropping in class. Right. But one horse who's been chugging along for quite some time, 13 lifetime starts, is the 6 Hibernia Fire, and he's actually run fast enough races to beat this field. I just wonder if he'd be better ultimately maybe getting shorter distances, right? When he first started off, he was running better races sprinting.
Yeah, he was making a good run. You see that race back March 20th of 2016, a good run from off the pace of 57. Buyer would just obliterate this field this afternoon. Not a bad try last time. Ran into a Kieran horse, Path Dependent, who just kind of was just too good that time. But consistently on the dirt, this horse's figures put him right there. And he's going to get a good stalking trip or maybe even a forward trip. Could go to the front if they wanted it to. I think Colonel Argo is going to be your pace setter.
All right, we shall see. That it's races 1 through 4. We will take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll tackle the 20-cent Rainbow 6, and Keith has a late pick 4 ticket right after this.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions who make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to support horse racing, to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet, we are racing.
Welcome back to Today at the Races here at Laurel Park, and now we are taking a look at the 20-cent Rainbow 6. We do have a carryover today, just over $8,200, and we started off on the turf course on the Fort Marcy at rail setting at 87 feet. So looking forward to that. We'll show you my take on today's sequence, and again, I tried my best to try to dwindle this ticket down to be to get around the $50 range. I couldn't. So So going to be using 3 horses to start things off with the 1, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3. I thought race 7, oh man, did that give me a tough time. So I'm going to be spreading in that and just capping it off in the last 3 legs of the sequence, 2 by 2 by 2. Keith will have a late pick 4 ticket in just a couple of races here. So like I said, we started on the Fort Marcy at a mile and a 16th here. Keith, how'd you see this race?
I look at the race. I don't see a ton of speed. I saw speed hold on this turf course yesterday. A fresh horse in Boppin' and Weaving who's proven over this turf course pretty much holds the claiming level off the drop. I think this horse can go ahead and dictate, Gabby, go right to wire. The good effort, 3 races back, November of 2016, late November, carrying the speed a long way on maybe a horse on the ground, had a little bit of give to it. I think the mile and 16th hits this horse right between the eyes.
It's a great post position for him, too, because he just could get the jump on the rest of the field. The only other speed type in here, really, would be the 9 Court in a Song, who's posted towards the outside. He's probably going to have to be used, and it's kind of – he's caught between a rock and a hard place, really, because Court in a Song has, since the claim, I think, for Hugh McMahon, he's managed to settle in the afternoon, and he's managed to find a target, and I think that's been a more successful running style for him. But in the past, he's shown a lot of speed on the turf. So which version of this horse are we going to see today, and would that pose as a problem for Boppin' and Weaving?
That's what I've gotten rid of. Has learned to rate. He drew the outside. I think he'd be kind of foolish to go ahead and try to dog Boppin' and Weaving. This horse, I like the running style that he's developed of late. I think he can go ahead within the first 3/8 of a mile and get a fairly forward position and save a little bit of ground.
We could see that happen. I was interested in the 10 Young Dude, and I'm not saying this horse needs to win because I obviously handicapped this race several days ago when the speed wasn't really that good. It was more favoring stalkers and closers. So the 10 Young Dude, I didn't think he was impossible if that pace scenario does come to fruition, and if Lane Luzzy can get him into maybe a more tactical position rather than kind of taking him to the back of the field, maybe sitting that mid-pack. He's got some legitimate races that could be effective against this company.
Good sharp workout of late. Maybe that's kind of a key that indicator he's going to move up and lay a little bit closer. He can sustain a decent run over this turf course. I think he's going to have to step his game up a little bit if he's going to get by the likes of maybe the 1 Boppin' and Weaving, Court in a Song, and even True Greek, another one who just falls back to another planet in these races. But look at his running. Even though his running style, he's a deep closer. The figs are there, and any one of his turf races puts him in the mix today. He just falls so far back, but he's a much better horse at this age on the turf than he is on the dirt.
And True Greek, I can't tell you how many times I've picked him, and given the fact that he's 3 for 51, that goes to show you how many times I've lost on him. So, but no, it's given his running style. He's so dependent on the pace. But we could see, really, I thought now re-handicapping this race, considering how the turf was playing yesterday, Boppin' and Weaving, it's probably his race to lose. Now we'll get to the 6th race on the card. Of course, this does kick off the 50-cent late pick 5 for this 7-furlong race, an open $25,000 condition. This was tough, too. I ultimately landed on the 2 Unassuming here for trainer Tom Proctor, and we'll show you a statistic here for trainer Tom Proctor. And looking at the horses who have been successful at this type of move, they've really won all over the place. Here, Delaware, Tampa, wherever they really show up. But with maiden winners last out at the claiming level, coming back and winning, he's 30% out of 20 horses. It's a positive ROI of $2.47, finishing in the money 65% of the time. But I will say, and I found this stat and I said, you know what, I'm going to pick this horse. He's a good price on the morning line. He ran a credible race last time out. But 71 Beyer speed figure would obviously be very competitive against this field. I still have some questions with that field because it looked like it was riddled with turf horses.
Agreed. I don't think it was the strongest dirt field for maiden 16s, but obviously the horse maybe fooled the trainer a little bit, ran a little bit better, jumping back up. You're going to have to go and reach in your pocket for $25,000 if you want to go ahead and grab Unassuming. This is a tricky little race. I see a fresh horse in Mr. October that could really push things up front. Good Boy Lucas, the draw to the inside, it might force his hand, force Trevor McCarthy's hand. Unassuming was forward and had keen speed down at Tampa. I think this race sets up for a mid-pack closer. like the 3 Parade of Nations or the 5 Magician's Calendar. I really like the 5 in here today. Going back and comparing internals on that April 7th race going a mile, I know the races were taken off the turf. 24-1, 47, 11-1, a good move around the turn, and did it within himself. Faded late against a horse, American Road, for Rice. Jumped up and ran a 92 fig, just ran lights out. This horse held on quite well to deep stretch and was only nailed late by a 2 other than type that was running at the fairgrounds for Jones. I think Magician's Calendar, if Forrest can just harness the speed a little bit, wait a little bit, mid-turn, maybe fall 3 or 4 lengths out of it, I think this horse is going to have a nice punch, as well as Parade of Nations in the 7 furlong race.
Yeah, we could see him maybe make that late run into the pace, and that's the same case with Parade of Nations. You know, he was a little bit more forward last time out, but his success, even at the mile before, has come when he can take back and make that one closing move. So hopefully we can see that performance. But obviously, he didn't show speed at 5.5 2 starts back, but that was the first time they added blinkers on. When they stretched him out to the mile, second time blinkers, do you think that this horse can relax off of the pace with the blinkers on?
I think he can, absolutely. He was on the negative inside last time as well. Maybe they tweaked the blinkers a little bit and worked with them. Parade of Nations at this level, he fits perfectly at 25,000. And talking about those internals, Magician's Calendar, that's what I wanted to get to. The maiden special weight races that were taken off the turf. We had some decent horses run that day. Those internals were like 12 and change, 13 and change. That 11-1 was really, really sharp. And the way he did it within himself makes me think he can make a good move for Magician's Calendar for mid-pack.
Well, I was confused, and you absolutely convinced me on Magician's Calendar, so I'm going to have to throw that horse on the ticket as well. So talking about tickets, the pick 4 does start in the 7th race on the card, and Keith took a stab at it. We started on the Kelso at a mile and a 16th. How'd you see it?
I could only go for 4 races. They just
I
as
know.
tough as these fields are. You guys do the dirty work, going for 6, pick 6s and pick 5s. So I'm going to try to narrow it down and catch this late pick 4 on a $40 ticket. Race 7. A good race. Very competitive. 1, 3, 5, 9, 4 deep in there. We're going to go 5 deep in race 8 with the 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9. Some price shots. Maybe notable game. I look back. I've got this horse lined a little too high at 15-1 with Trevor. Too deep. The 7 or 8, they look like the horses to beat in race 9. And finishing it up with the 2 and the 4, also the favorites in race 10. And we're going to try to catch a price in those first 2, a little chalky on the back end.
Whew, okay, let's take a deep breath and get to this race because it's a bit of a head scratcher here, and I believe this is a race that I spread in. I think I used 5 horses in here. Now, we'll start with the 3 Forever in Love. 3-1 on the morning line for trainer Linda Rice, and she has been firing on all cylinders. So I need to say that before going into the statistic that will show. But, we always like to show a cautionary stat on a horse that figures to take money, and 61 to 180-day layoffs going a distance of ground on the turf. She is only 13%, and it is a negative ROI. Only 34% in the money, too. So they're kind of running out of the exotics there, too. So that's one. That was one stat that I saw that I didn't like, and that's where I thought that this race was pretty wide open.
No doubt. A little chink in the armor there for Linda, maybe.
Yeah.
I not too many, though.
No.
And this horse's running style.
It took me a while to find that stat.
Once again, looking at the field, I'm taking a flyer. Not a ton of horses that look like they just want to go ahead and go. Forever in Love, a good steady run for mid-pack, fresh, and she hits okay off the left. You say 61 to 180 days, 30% to turf, maybe a little different story. And, the horse that beat her last time, Shalaka, didn't that horse, I thought, ran it around here. Zenner, the second place horse, came back to run a good 91. So Forever in Love, I certainly think is gonna make a late charge out of it. Bethel Wildcat is a horse that interests me, kind of like Irish War Cry, right? Would you stay with Irish War Cry? And then Bethel Wildcat, interesting move. Was backing up badly on the dirt. Let's go ahead and go to the mile and 16th on the turf. Looking at the breeding Discreet Cat in excess, top and bottom. Once again, I'm taking a flyer. This horse can just kind of pop the gates. Jockey-trainer combo is strong and control it up front for the 1 Bethel Wildcat.
And you're absolutely right. We sometimes see horses who sprint on the dirt, who show a lot of early speed. They're just on the engine the entire time. They just never have the ability to relax. This horse is bred top and bottom to like the turf. Whether distance is the question, we shall see. But the way that speed has been, he draws a good rail post position to get the jump on the rest of the field. Fergal Lynch, Graham Motion. I think you might be onto something with Bethel Wildcat. I definitely use that horse on the pick 6 ticket. Now, the 5 in depth for Ray Handel, This is a horse who's coming out of very tough
Yeah.
races. Last time out, he faced Highland Sky, who was grade 1 place in the Belmont Derby last year. Brutally, brutally tough allowance race. Prior to that, probably too long, probably too tough too. This is the right spot for him. I just wonder where he's going to find himself in the big picture of the race, where he sometimes is close to the pace, sometimes he falls back. I thought he was a horse that you definitely wanted to use given the strength of his last two allowance races.
I just think, like I say, the distance right now I think is just right for him. 9 starts, 2 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. Highland Sky, the company, I went back and looked. He's kept the right group. And I think within this whole field, breaking it down, I think he can stay within 2, 3, 4 lengths once they hit the far turn and make a run from there. I like Indebted a lot today, and you won't get 96 to 1 on him like he was last time.
Late breaking news.
Uh-oh.
I hate to
Here it
tell you
comes.
this.
Go ahead.
The one is a late scratch. Scratch him off.
I knew
I'm
it.
very sorry to
That's
tell you
okay.
that, Keith.
Well,
but
we'll
we'll wait
go
for
ahead.
another. Put that on your stable mail, right?
That saves us a couple bucks in the pick 4 too.
Exactly.
As well.
All right. So do take note. Scratch the 1
Thanks,
in
Graham.
race 7. Thank you, Graham. we just promoted your horse there. But the 9 GSM Gem. We'll get to this horse really quickly before moving on. This is going to be the horse that I take a shot with here.
Absolutely.
He's by Fairbanks on the bottom side, sparkly number. Do you know who this horse is a half to? He's a half to a grade 1 turf winner and Illuminant. Now, she actually ran 3rd in the grade 1 Jenny Wiley behind Tepin, and she's a grade 1 winner on the West Coast. There's some very nice distance turf pedigree on the bottom side, and I really like this horse today.
And you've got a situation here, if I'm reading this right, reported gelding on the 13th of July of 2016. The only turf try was July 10th.
Yep.
So if that's true, and it rings true, I should say sparkling numbers 414 on turf. Exactly. This horse is really kind of ramped into good form against good horses. Matt King Cole, Paige McKinney. He's not disgraced himself at all. Absolutely a must-use in today's 7th.
Yeah, he's a better horse lately on the dirt. Who
Yes.
knows what he can do on the turf. So I really like that horse today. As we get to the 8th, maiden $25,000 event, 6 furlongs onto the main track. And this was a little bit of a head scratcher too. Ultimately, I did land towards the outside. The 8 Notable Game, I was really battling with this horse because if she runs back to the race that she ran in her debut, she's tough here.
Yeah, she's going to be tough. Phase the Nation was just the key there. Did it to a decent number, somewhere from mid-pack. This is a wide-open affair. I've got this horse line wrong. This horse is going to be lower. I know he was 58 to 1, 22 to 1. She was in her first 2 starts. You'll get a lower price than I think in that 15. Still think you get 8 or 10 to 1 on her.
Oh, for sure.
Especially with Proud Commander going to draw a ton of play from the rail for Larry Jones. But Notable Game, somewhere from mid-pack.
And looking at Proud Commander, this is a horse trained by Larry Jones, who is taking that drop in class from the fairgrounds last seen against maiden $40,000 company now, and for that $25,000 tag. It's been a recipe for success for Larry Jones, just getting a little bit of a class relief coming from out of the fairgrounds and laying these horses in. He's just had some troubled trips in the past 2 starts. I just wonder, I wonder if she kind of finds the trouble, though.
It happens. He had a horse like this the other day, though, maybe about a week or so. Similar type of maiden, if I'm not mistaken. Just when you break down the internals and you look at it, she might encounter a little trouble if she gets away and clears. The way Morrell rated that horse that day, and we've got Cintron, also very capable, could be very dangerous and go a long way in here.
The 10, Do You Like That, is a second-time starter for Horacio de Paz. I'm going to be using her now on the drop-in class in her second start. Now, in her first start, she did draw from the rail. Always kind of a tough position to break from as a first-time starter, and she was heavily urged out of the gate. She just was not fast enough. It never looked like she got the ability to be comfortable because her hand was forced from that rail post position. So, better post today and drop-in class. I expect an improved performance. She's going to have to in order to win.
Absolutely, and as you said, that was the key. Was used early from the rail, and then just a slight fade. That's the other thing. The horse just like she didn't just give in. Draws outside, a little bit of a drop in class. Midday Prayer, the 3rd place finisher, I think, jumped up and led the field a long way the other day. Might have been yesterday, going a mile. So, no, this horse certainly second time out can make a major improvement.
All right, we get to the 9th race on the card. Fort Marcy, rail set at 87 feet, 5.5 furlongs onto the turf. I'll get to my top selection in a second. That's blame me. First off, the claim for Mary Epler. But, Keith, you go towards the outside, the number 8, Uncle Youch. I remember, I remember this horse last season. I bet him and picked him in a second start to win, because they actually had a really kind of a sneaky troubled trip first time out. Since then, he's actually been in pretty good form, gradually going against pretty tough company.
Absolutely, and I think he's kept the right company, kept better company than the most of these. I think Mount Cornet has run well. The 5.5, I'm a little bit leery of him. I think he's going to be closing in late, maybe uses as a prep down the road. But the draw for Uncle Youch in the company, you see spin cycle 3 back at Belmont. The horse came back to run very well in a 2 other than. Company lines are good. Don't let the New York bred state breds. They're solid right now.
They're very good races.
Turf, dirt, it doesn't matter at all. This horse from the favorable outside post with speed and stamina. I think it's him or Tempt Me Twice in here.
Yeah, those are the two class horses of the race, and I prefer Uncle Youch in here.
Yeah.
So if I picked him on top, I would kind of consider maybe even singling him because I only used 2 horses in this leg of the pick 6. Now the other one would be the one Blame Me. First off, the claim for Mary Epler. Yes, he's been facing $5,000 claimers in the past couple of starts, and maybe he's lost a step or two. But when he first started his career, I think he was actually running under Dane Kabisky, and they started this horse sprinting on the turf. He broke his maiden going sprinting on the turf. He actually won the non-winners of 2 lifetime conditions sprinting on the turf. So the fact that first off the claim, Mary takes this horse back to a place that he was successful at, I really like, and I'm just hoping he might break a little slowly, angle out, and make that one move.
Absolutely. I mean, pace could be okay. Run from the Nun has some speed. The 3, as we know, Uncle Youch and Tempt Me Twice will all be forward. And Blame Me. If I'm not mistaken, I think this horse beat us out of a ton of money. Maybe
Probably.
last leg of a pick 5 or a pick 6 back at Pimlico on the way back, if I'm not mistaken.
All right,
maybe he can kind of make amends, and we'll use him today at a big, big price.
All right, we shall see. We get to the 10th and final race, a nice maiden special weight on the Kelso, rail set at 35 feet, a mile and a 16th onto the turf. I saw some crazy stats on Michael Dickinson. I didn't provide these, but taking his horses from dirt to turf at the maiden special weight level. So I do think that the 2 Lift Up is one to use. She's by Ghost Zapper. She's akin to a stakes winner on the turf. The mare, she was a 4-time winner. She was stakes place on the turf. So the pedigree is there, and they've been pretty patient with her, obviously, now getting to the turf. I think she's one to use, but you landed on the 4. I got the board.
Yeah, I was between the 2 chalks in race 10. I see you've got a little price on Quick-Witted. Was that a second-time starter out of the old mare Humoristic? There you go. Okay,
I can't tell you how many times I bet on horses out of Humoristic. So
right.
Anyway.
But no, I got the boy or Lift Up. Slight edge. First time Lasix on the turf. I got the boy. Good run against Journey Home. We saw go back out, I think, and win at Del Mar. I think she's fresh. She'll be fine. One of these 2. They've been trying to get Lift Up. This is what they want this horse to run on the turf. Dynamic Cat with, say, 4 for 14, made over 100,000 for multiple turf-winning sibs going long. So, yeah, one of these 2.
It all makes sense, and I wanted to go to the 8 Quick-Witted, and this 3-year-old filly is by a Fleet Alex. I like the fact that they gave her 1 race. This seems like a typical hammy move. Get her 1 race for fitness on the dirt last time out, point her towards the turf. She is out of Humoristic, very successful mare, but all of her racing foals have won on the turf.
Absolutely.
So I got to stick with this horse one more time.
I agree. I don't know how I don't have this horse in my top form. I've always been a fan of everything. Humoristic when she was running and on all the foals. But yeah,
She's
a
been a
good
very
price
good
user. No doubt. They're going to be used in the exotics.
All right, that's a wrap for us. Races 1 through 10. Once again, we have that 20-cent Rainbow 6 carryover. It is a beautiful spring day here at Laurel Park. We're going to step aside, and Dave Rodman will be up next with those scratches and changes.
Good luck.